This video lesson will review how to find the slope of a line. So remember what the slope actually represents. So when we are talking about the slope of a line, it is a number that's representing the steepness of a line. So it's representing how steep a line is. The steeper the line, the larger the slope. So the bigger the number, the more steep the line is, the larger the slope. Another way to think about it is the closer the slope is to zero, the less steep the line is. So if you look at the example up here, this is a horizontal line, it's a little sketch of a horizontal line, it's flat, its slope is 0. The further we get away from 0, the more the line gets steep. So this is a sketch of a slope of a line 1. So it's moving away from 0, but you could also have -1. It has the same steepness, the sign just indicates a different direction. So negative slopes go this way, and positive slopes go this way. The slope of a line has two ways of calculating it, two formulas. Really, they both kind of mean the same thing, but you might think of them a little bit differently. So we have this formula, which you should be familiar with. So if we have a line with two endpoints, you need 2 points on a line to be able to find the slope. We'll call the first point x1 and y1, and the second point x2, y2. Then to find the slope, we need to find the change in y. Remember, this triangle here means change. Change in y, and change in x. So how much is y changing? How much is x changing? Often the simplest way to think about it is using this formula over here. So the change in y is, well, we take y2 and we subtract y1. We're trying to see how much y has changed. And then we divide that by the change in x. So x2 subtract x1. It's always y over x. Remember that. We'll do a little example here together. So we're finding the slope of line segment AB, and we're given its coordinates. We'll start by drawing a graph, but you actually don't have to find the slope, but since the instructions say graph the line, we have to graph it. It's very important to follow instructions. So first point is at x1. So x1 is here, and y is 6. So we go up to where y is 6, and that's where we'll put our first point. x1, y6, and I'm going to label it x1, y6. Then the next point is at x -7. x -7 is here, and y10. So y10 is here. That's where our next point is going to be. And I will also label that one B with its coordinates, -7 and 10. And then you should take a ruler. I unfortunately don't have a ruler on this whiteboard application, so I'm just going to draw it. You should be taking a ruler to draw a nice straight line. Now we're going to calculate the slope. Well, we can use the graph to find the slope, or we can use just the points that have been given, just this here. So if I'm going to start by just using the points. So I'm going to label the points. I'm going to decide which one is x1, y1. I'm going to pick this one. Doesn't matter which one you pick. I'm going to pick this as x1, y1, and this one is x2, y2. Now to find the slope, our equation is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So my y2 is 10 minus my y1, which is 6. Divided by x2, -7, minus 1. So I will simplify that. 10 minus 6 is 4. And -7 minus 1 gives us -8. So we're left with -1/2 as the slope, which makes sense. The line is sloping this way, which we said earlier gives us a negative slope. Okay, now if we were to look at just the graph, we can see what the change in x is and the change in y. We look at the path, the straight line, horizontal and vertical path we can take to go from one point to the next without lifting your pencil. You always have to follow the same path. So if we look here, This is the change horizontally. Since the x-axis goes this way, this is the change in x. So the change in x is how many spots we've moved to go from here to here. Well, we're going from 1 all the way to -7, so we have to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spots. So that gives us 8, and since we're going in the negative direction to the left, it's a change of -8. Then if we look at the change in y, what's the change from here, 6, up to 10? Well, we're changing by 4. We have to go up 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. And since we're going up in the positive direction, it's +4. So my slope, change in y over change in x. The change in y is +4. The change in x is -8. So that also gives us -1/2. These next 4 examples I want you to try on your own. You can use any method that you'd like, either of the 2 methods we've seen. I'm just going to get you started on the first one to show you how, because on your photocopies it might not be very clear where the endpoints are. So I suggest you take, well, you have to take 2 points that are very easy to find, that meet right on the corner, so we can find the coordinates easily, like right here. So this point is at -3, for example, and this one's pretty easy to see where it crosses. It's at x is 1 and y is 0. Once you know exactly the 2 endpoints you want to use, then it's easier to find the slope. So I suggest you use those 2 points. I'll just show you where the other points are so you can more easily put them on your handout, and then you can calculate the slope. So for this next example, I suggest you use the 2 points that cross on the axis, so the x-intercept here and the y-intercept here. Okay, well for this one it's a little bit more straightforward. Say this point and this point. And on the last one, same thing, you can use the y-intercept and maybe the point on the end here. I want you to find the slope, find all 3 slopes, and then I want you to explain how all 4 are different. So I want you to do that, please. Make sure you write down your explanation. I'm going to check all this in next class, so please make sure you have it done for next class.